Most sales advice sounds good until you try it in the real world. Today's guest actually lives in the real world. Welcome to Profits of IT. I'm Jim Punzenberger, former MSP owner and creator of ManageProspectingSystem.com and your host here at Profits of IT. This show is all about real conversations with people who built things, broken things, and figured out what actually works. ManageProspectingSystem.com sponsors this show. We help MSPs and IT companies create profitable pipelines without living on referrals or guessing what might work next quarter. Check out ManageProspectingSystem.com after the show. Today, I'm joined by AJ Horst, head of sales at Americas at Azul. AJ helped drive a 40% year-over-year growth at a 23-year-old organization, which is no small feat. AJ, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jim. Happy to be here.
So, AJ, give us a quick version who you are and what do you do day to day?
I lead sales organizations. I've been doing this for over 20 years now. Started out, got into sales leadership at a company, iWave, where I was an individual contributor, reported up to the CEO. And as we grew the team, naturally grew into a sales leader. And then I've had roles at AppDynamics, eBreak.net, which got acquired by Dell, ActiveState, and then now I'm at Azul, where I am head of sales for the Western Hemisphere, which includes North and South America.
Cool. So tell us more about that 40% growth that you mentioned earlier. Th what surprised you most about it? What do you contribute that success to?
Yeah, so it's a number of things. I mean, the surprise was the speed in which we were able to achieve that, coming in and working out a plan with the CRO, Ian, to be able to drive more growth at Azul. What it can be attributed to, there's a number of factors, right? So, you can never say if you take 40% growth, sales can't take all the credit for that as much as sometimes we would like to, right? There needs to be a really solid product market fit and good headwinds. And where that came from was one of our primary competitors, Oracle, who has supported Java, changed their licensing model that a lot of customers weren't happy about. And then Azul is a natural off ramp for those customers. So really the challenge that we were tackling was, the awareness of Azul to make sure that people knew that we were there to be able to be that off-ramp from Oracle. And a lot of that in the most logical way to do that in combination with marketing efforts was to work with the channel and enable your value-added resellers who already have those relationships, with people that have that pain point of a license model change, right? So if you think about procurement people and others that all of a sudden they'll say, "Oh, I have this, renewal due with this organization. The price because of this change is way higher than we had budgeted for." Right. Having those channel partners have that discussion, bring that up and say, "Hey, there is a company that can help you, and it's not that hard to switch." So channel sales at Azul, when I came in, it was as far as like being involved in any way, whether we, started or not, was about 30%. And there's about 15% of the business was channel led, where they brought us into opportunities. And right now, that sits at 75% of our deals are running through the channel, and nearly half of our deals are brought to us from the channel and the value-added reseller. So that was a real area that was able to unlock a lot of that growth and awareness, to where now, the lion's share of Fortune 500 companies are now Azul customers, coming off. And that was in combination with, so that was one aspect of the business. And then the other aspect, and another side of our product was being able to make Java run faster, make applications run faster, which could both save companies money on their cloud bills and then also, um, have applications that are revenue generating, that are dependent on performance to have that. And, in those deals, the main thing was having better execution as far as setting up pilots, understanding what the goals of the customers were after, and then executing on those so that we could secure more business. So a lot of things came together at once, and it was a pretty good story. We were able to drive that growth, which then ultimately got the attention of Tomo Bravo. And they're the largest private equity company as it relates to enterprise software.
Hmm.
And these guys are like highly selective in who they acquire. So our previous private equity company were able to like seize on that growth and then take the interest of Tomo Bravo, where they were able to then make a significant investment in us, right? And our old partners are actually still investors as well. So it's a pretty cool story, and one that a lot of people at Azul are pretty proud of.
Cool. And fun fact about you, I heard that you're a elite Donkey Kong player.
Yeah. So I, that's one of the things. Not a lot of people know that, but there's a couple of things. So when I was a kid, I had Donkey Kong on the Nintendo, so not
Hmm.
in the arcades, and was okay at it. And then later I saw the documentary. It's called I think it's called Fistful of Quarters, about this like Donkey Kong champion. It was a famous Netflix documentary, but this was like 15 years ago. And I was like, you know what? I like Donkey Kong. Maybe I can get pretty good at it. So right now, for those of you that know Donkey Kong scores, my high score is just over 550,000, which was, at the time I did that, like in the top 100 of scores, like of all time. Now I just recently checked, and I guess there's a lot of people like into that, so all the scores are like well above a million. But yeah, and one of the things that you can do, so I travel around a lot. And one of the things that
Hmm.
I like to do is, find like an arcade or something that usually will have a Donkey Kong and get the high score on it. But my initials that I put in, because I am a dad of three, so if you ever, go in to, really any major city and go to a Donkey Kong machine, if you look for dad on the scoreboard, that's me.
That's you, Dad.
Yep.
Cool. Well, let's shift gears here and hear about your truth bomb. You believe most org charts are backwards. Want to explain why?
Yeah, so if you think about a traditional way of thinking, and really it's the question of like who works for who, right? What you may think is, okay, well, the individual contributors, they work for the managers work for the executives work for the CEO works for the board, and then the board works for the shareholders. And that way of thinking, my belief is upside down, and it doesn't contribute to a world-class culture. And what a world-class culture, looks like with all players involved is, what is a good board? Well, a good board, you may think, well, they deliver results for shareholders, but like, how do they ultimately do that? And the best way to achieve that is, a really good board has, groups of people with expertise that can help the CEO to do his job better, right? And then what a good CEO ultimately does is he or she is working for the executives to make sure that they're as successful as possible. The executives working to ensure that the managers are as successful as possible. Managers working to make sure the individuals are as successful as possible. And then at the individual contributor level, who are they concerned about? It should not be, oh, I want to make my boss happy. What their thought should be is, how can I make customers more successful? And when you make customers more successful, what ends up happening is shareholders end up getting taken care of, right? So that's where the focus should be. And then again, the shareholders, that takes care of themselves, and then they'll be happy.
That makes sense. So let's shift gears here one more time and to a learning moment that you've had. And you've mentioned that single-threaded deal is something that one contact, one person. You want to
Yeah. So
elaborate on this learning moment a little more?
Yeah, so this was early in my career, and it was a very, vivid learning moment. So this was back when I was an individual contributor at iWave, and we were a 30-person software startup company. And I reported to the CEO. I was the only salesperson there. And it wasn't bootstrapped. We did have an initial investment, but it wasn't like a high growth like VC startup where you have like a Brinks truck worth of money to fuel your
Hmm.
growth, right? It
Yeah.
was, you guys have $1 million, you burn through that, you're going out of business. Don't ask for more money. So we were at the point where, there were a lot of deals in the pipeline, but there really was this must-win deal, and it was at Apple Computer. And the person that I was dealing with, he was higher up. He led the entire data center organization at Apple, and that was when they were building out their infrastructure for iCloud, and they were building a brand new data center in North Carolina that I believe is still there and operating to this day, one of the biggest data centers in the world. And he was high up, economic buyer. He could make the decision, and we were pretty close to getting a deal that at the end of the day was needed for our company to survive. It was one of those where we could very well go out of business without this deal. Um, and he died.
Wow.
So he had a heart attack. I mean, he was in his mid 40s, so it was a shock. But he died, and then when he died, naturally, the deal pushed, right? And I would say, nowadays it's like there's no excuses for deals pushing, and honestly, there's not, right? But that was my excuse. It's like,
Hmm.
I had to talk to the board and stuff. I'm like, well, the guy died, what was I supposed to do? But the point is that ultimately, even if someone gets hit by a bus, is usually the term that we have, or someone happens.
Right.
What I didn't do is I didn't know a lot of other people at Apple. He was like the person that I honed in on. I was single threaded, and it delayed that deal by like 2.5 months. Because trying to come back in, I'm having to essentially start from scratch. And they had to take me on my word. I was like, look, I was talking to so and so, and we were close to a deal, and they're like, yeah, right,
Right.
so I had to like, reestablish, rebuild, that level of trust. And then we did ultimately secure the deal. But it was a very painful lesson. And also a very interesting board meeting when we had to come in again to the board, not having results and having barely enough cash to be able to survive into the next quarter. So you take that with you, and that's something that, a lot of lessons are learned best the hard way. The main thing is, learn from them, never be happy, especially in enterprise sales. If you are single threaded, and always understand that, that is a risk. It's not necessarily that someone could die as dramatic as that situation is, but people can leave companies, people can change positions. There's all kinds of things, that will happen. And then later when you get into sales leadership, it's Murphy's Law. Like if you can conceive of anything that can derail the deal, like it will happen in one of your deals when you're dealing, in a certain amount of volume. So the main thing, to do and, to provide value again, back to your team is understand like all of those risks, right? And make sure that in those deals you mitigate those.
It definitely makes sense. So AJ, if somebody wanted to connect with you personally or learn more about Azul, what would be a great way for them to connect with you?
Yeah, so if you want to learn more about Azul, definitely just go to azul.com. There's plenty of contact us. Marketing does a pretty good job of you'll have like chat bots that come up and form you fill out. Just fill out that either whether it be through chat or whoever, and we'll get in touch. I would say reach out to me directly. I don't want to be a bottleneck for that, right? And we'll make sure again we have a global sales force that wherever you are and whoever you are, you'll have the right person to reach out to. If you want to reach out to me personally, I would say just connect with me on LinkedIn. Send me a message.
So AJ Horst on LinkedIn.
Yep, linkedin.com/in/my name, AJ Horst. Thank you.
Great. Well, I appreciate you being here and your willingness to share.
Yeah, yeah, happy to do it. It was fun.
And for everyone watching or listening, if you want more conversations like this, follow the show, share it with somebody who manages sales, runs an MSP or IT company, and is tired of guessing their way through growth. Just a reminder, now is a good time to check out managedprospectingsystem.com. And until next time, stay hydrated and caffeinated. Bye for now.